So Senator Roberts.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for being here again. I understand this topic's quality and safety?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Why is it that my aged care for over 65s do ACAT assessments of clients by nurses to determine their health needs, but NDIS does not?
I'd have to defer that to the NDIA. I'm sorry, Senator.
Okay. Can we take that? Someone take that on notice for the NDIA?
Yeah, it's not. It's certainly not a question that the Commission can answer.
Thank you. Why does the NDIS only look at lifestyle of a disabled person and not their complete health needs when 80% of clients with disabilities have chronic health conditions? Vulnerable people with complex health issues need nursing input. NDIS may have been developed for lifestyle only, but clearly chronic health conditions affect lifestyle and level of care and the funding required. Is that correct?
Well, the NDIA is responsible, Senator, for, as you're aware, for what goes in a plan and what someone can claim for and what particular services they do. Our job is to ensure that that which fits in their plan is provided on in terms of quality and safety for that individual. So we regulate the providers, not what goes onto their plan. That's a matter for the NDIA.
So is that something that can be taken on notice as well from the NDIA?
We'll take it on notice.
Thank you. As I'm being told, a lot of these come from our constituents. So I'm not an expert on NDIS, NDIA, NDI, anything. So the health conditions of these NDIS participants are not being assessed properly to determine the level of care required and the amount of funding. They are also not being managed well because there are no nurses involved in doing assessments and to train support providers who are caring for these vulnerable people. So how is the level of care required being assessed to determine if funding is being distributed appropriately?
Again, Senator, that's primarily a question for the NDIA. However, if there are complaints in relation to the service level that your individual constituents are saying in relation to their plans, etc., that is a matter for the Commission, and we would like those matters brought to our attention.
So why are people with a mental illness being discriminated against in terms of providing for their needs? Those with a mental illness are often significantly disabled by their illness.
The Commission can't answer that question, Senator. That's a matter for the NDIA.
Why have nurses been kept out of this scheme?
That's not a question.
That's
a policy.
the NDIA. I'm just checking my questions, Chair, because they're not going to be appropriate. Support workers in many cases are conducting unsafe practices. Some practices are dangerous and life-threatening. Why are service providers or support workers not required to attend any training from basic manual handling to complex wound care, advanced bowel care and diabetes management, despite being permitted and required to carry out these functions? There are thousands of clients Australia-wide with high acuity needs being cared for by untrained workers.
Yeah, well, Senator, that question very much goes to when someone who is providing services under the NDIS, whether or not they have the qualifications to be able to provide those services. Now, at the moment, as the Quality and Safeguards Commission, we can only regulate that which we know. So, for example, if someone is an unregistered provider, we cannot put on any sort of requirements on them in terms of qualifications that they need to be able to do that function. So, it is something that is being looked at, certainly by the task force at the moment, the registrations task force, to work out what is a provider and what sort of providers need to be registered. And then if, for example, someone is a requirement to be registered, then the Commission is the one that's responsible for doing the due diligence as to whether or not that person is capable of being registered to provide those services for which they are seeking registration. So it's a complex process, but
so is it an area that needs to be tidied up, cleaned up?
It is, but if we're talking about high risk services for services that require registration, then we do that due diligence and that quality audit. But other than that, no, we don't.
People are at grave risk, and it's likely that many have succumbed to life-threatening situations as a result of negligent care. Changes to the Medicines and Poisons Act allow untrained support workers to carry out administration of medicines and treatments authorised by prescription from a doctor. Is this practice inherently dangerous?
I couldn't comment, Senator, on the practices of the medical profession and whether it is or it isn't. But certainly, again, if people are in neglect or have been harmed in any way, then we would like to know about that at the Commission.
What about a nurse for support workers was told, for example, that family members of a particular client who has seizures expected the support workers to catch the client who weighs over 100 kilograms. They were told if they don't catch her, they may not have a job. That goes against workplace health and safety requirements, doesn't it?
Indeed, it probably does. Again, if that's a registered provider doing those, giving those instructions, we'd like to know about it. So I'm looking forward to hearing these examples from your office.
What audits are being conducted of risk management and safe practices?
Well, if someone's a registered provider, then the approved quality audit happens prior to registration, but also happens at the end of a year as well. So there's ongoing audits that happen for registered providers.
Why aren't support workers expected to have a minimum of 20 hours of professional development training each year, as are other healthcare providers?
Because the Commission, certainly in our place, doesn't have the ability to put those standards on an individual.
40% of the workforces of support workers are from non-English speaking countries, and the workers are struggling with literacy and numeracy at a level 2 standard. Surely poor communication, in addition to no adequate training, is a combination for disaster.
You'd be asking an opinion on that, Senator, which I wouldn't feel comfortable giving.
Aren't you overseeing quality and safety?
Well,
it's not
I don't
appropriate
have the, yeah.
under the standing orders to ask an opinion, so you can ask factual matters relating to expenditure and operations, but not opinions, Senator Roberts.
Isn't it a proper audit? Isn't it a requirement that a proper audit or assessment by nurses of appropriate healthcare and client health needs, in conjunction with an occupational therapist for lifestyle needs, is required of every participant obtaining funding through NDIS to determine where funding is going and whether it is being utilised to provide the best needs of the clients?
Not from us.
It's not?
No. We have to do an approved quality audit on the providers to make sure that they've got all the requirements they need to do to be able to, and meeting those requirements to be able to deliver the services for which they're registered.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Senator.